am I? Why am I here? Where do I come from? These are questions that oftentimes we ask ourselves, and PKs are not left out. Unfortunately, a lot of PKs ask these questions because they are lost or their identity is so unclear. Today on Live of a PK, we try to know what is identity, how to find my identity and walk out of the shadow of my parents. My name is Faith Akom. This is Live of a PK. I'll be right back. Have you ever wanted to know your true self? Have you ever wondered as a PK if your life or the person you want to be is good enough? Then today is just for you. We are finding a person and walking out of the shadow of a parent. Can we actually do that? You're welcome back. Today with me in the studio, I have a young man. He is a great person, an outstanding pianist. Actually, he is an example of a PK become pastor, a preacher's kid that is actually a preacher. He is an intelligent pianist and worship leader. He fellowships with the Living Word Worship Center. This is no other than Tabiayuk Daniel. Tabiayuk. I always like adding the Tabiayuk to his name. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
I'm happy to have you.
I'm happy as well to see you today.
This calm and well-calculated gesture. I hope you're here to talk.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm ready.
Take us down memory lane. How was life for you growing up as a PK?
Well, life for me growing up as a PK has been interesting, has been funny as well. Growing up as a PK, you're living in a glass house.
And you're not expected to throw stones because they say when you live in a glass house, do not throw stones.
Do not throw stones.
But we all throw stones, don't we?
We do. Living in a glass house has in the sense of your life is transparent. Everything is seen.
You have cameras everywhere.
Everywhere. Good. You have the unseen cameras.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been the experience as a PK. As a PK. But I would like to say somewhere, somehow, it has been interesting. It has been good. Somehow.
It has not been all bad.
It has not been all bad.
Can we have scenarios, please?
Yeah, it hasn't been all bad. It has been good. I've had the opportunity of having not just my family at home, but I grew up with a whole family from church.
Didn't you ever feel saturated? Because most PKs complain that they don't always have their space. Yeah. They're always saturated with other people's problems, other people's kids, and their parents never have time for them. So did you ever face that?
At some particular juncture, I faced that challenge. You know, there's that point where pastor's house is everybody's house. And so as a PK, each time you have a visitor coming in, wanted or unwanted, there's always somebody coming in.
Sometimes you have to leave your bed.
Sometimes you need to sacrifice your bed. You need to sacrifice your food. Sometimes you need to sacrifice your water.
How did that make you feel?
There were times I was like, right, I just for the work of God.
Yeah, I get.
As we call it the same pidgin. I just for the work of God. If not, there are times you are tired, you are stressed up. But at that juncture, somebody comes in and you see this is a Christian, this person needs help. So you have to sacrifice at that
Even
juncture.
if you don't want to.
Even if you don't want to.
Okay, today we're talking identity. We are here to talk about identity, finding your person and walking out of the shadow of your parents. What's identity? In your own words.
In my own words, identity, I can say identity is being myself without stress, feeling free, and having my characteristics and living with that. It's life.
Do you think identity is just internal, or it has to do both internal and external?
Identity to me is both internal and external. That's why I said being myself without stress. Who am I inside is going to portray outside.
Without, so what people see you do when you're not stressed.
Good. When I'm not under pressure, that's stress.
Okay, when you're not under pressure.
Under pressure.
Okay, that's identity.
That's identity to me.
So how can we, as PK, you are a PK, I am a PK, we often have that situation, or we often complain that this is not me. I'm not living my best life. This is not the who I want to be. How is identity formed?
So identity can be formed as a PK by, first of all, knowing what is inside of you.
Okay.
Trying to be truthful as much as possible to who you really are.
To oneself.
To oneself.
Okay.
That's the who am I question that comes up. So in order to form identity, you have to, first of all, know who you are, be truthful to yourself. Even when you're in the room alone, come to that point where, as a PK, this is who I am.
And this is what I want to be.
This is what I want to be. I'm not going to live life for daddy. I'm not going to live life for mommy. But I want to be me. And so in forming that identity, the next thing you're going to do after who am I is develop your faith.
Okay.
Develop faith in God. You understand that?
So what about maybe a PK who is not really a fake person, or maybe has different values from what the father preaches? What do you do? What do you then develop?
Now, having different values from what pastor is preaching or the father is preaching doesn't really cancel the idea or the fact that there is a God whom we are supposed to please.
Okay, and we're supposed to worship.
And we're supposed to worship.
Okay.
So in a bit to form my identity or develop my identity, I said, know who you are, per se.
Yeah.
Have faith in God, then develop who you truly are.
All
develop your identity now.
Yeah.
For example, I may be a PK and I sense that I'm called to politics. Good.
Now you're getting something else.
Good.
That's a whole controversial issue on its own, but let's ride on.
Yeah, I may be a PK and I think I'm called into something like politics. I'm called into something like fashion designing. I'm called into something like modeling. I want to be a musician like myself.
Yes.
After noticing that is who I am, I develop my faith in God by going close to Him. Let me understand. Then I develop my identity by doing research on what I want to do, being truthful to myself, having a company of people who have the same kind of mindset like myself and like me. And, you know, at this juncture, it becomes a little difficult.
Okay, now we're talking about identity, and I do not hear anything about physical appearance. Does that mean that the way I look, my physical appearance, has nothing to do with my identity?
Well, your physical appearance will have something to do about your identity. That's why
I ask this because a lot of PKs find trouble in their appearance, the way they dress, the way they look, and sometimes it causes a lot of stones on them.
Yeah.
So, take it from there.
At that particular juncture, you see, I mentioned some professions like modeling. And there is a way a model dresses. Being a PK, there's always that challenge of, don't wear this kind of dress. You don't know that as a pastor's chair, you're not supposed to wear this kind of dress. Don't do like this. Your hair should be like this. Your hair should be like this.
So does physical appearance have any implications on the identity of a PK?
Well, yeah. Though, it depends. For my own sake.
So what does it depend on?
If you're truthful to yourself, there's that point where you know that you know, because dressing is a whole topic on its own, but that point where you know, I'm dressing like this is how I feel like to dress. Once it doesn't cause me to sin, once it doesn't carry me out of focus, out of purpose, then as a PK, you should come to that point where you can meet mom and dad and tell them, I feel like dressing this way. If it's not vulgar, if it's not indifferent.
Or indecent.
Indecent.
All right, we'll take on a very short break. And when we come back, we have more questions for our guest, Tabiayuk Daniel. You're welcome back. This is still Live over PK. My name is Faith Akum. Before the break, we're talking about the modalities, things that form or shape the identity. You've got to be true to yourself, and you have to be having a constant relationship with God. Right now, we're going to be talking about how much control do we have in shaping our identity. What do you think?
Having control as far as your identity
As
is
PK,
concerned.
like,
Okay,
do
as
you
PK.
have the control? Because we know family is the bedrock of every human. So if you come from a preacher's house and there's a lot of controversy, do you have that sole control in developing your identity or shaping your identity?
The truth is, at the beginning point of every PK's life, you don't have that control. Most of them don't have that control. Why?
Is it that reality is that most of them do not have the control, or they are not supposed to have control?
Not under normal circumstances. As a human being, you're supposed to have control over yourself at a certain age. But most PKs are like, I can say, fine-tuned to a certain kind of structure. And so they are being built up with that kind of mentality. So,
and it grows into character.
And it grows into character.
Not necessarily who they are.
Who they are.
Okay.
So you have instances whereby you know this is where I want to be. You know this is where I want to be, but you have little or no control over yourself. And so as a PK, like there have been times in my life, let me use my personal example. There have been times, Daniel, come, let's go with this party now. Today is my birthday. Oh, yes. I've forgotten you're a pastor's child. No, don't come.
No, you can't come for party.
Don't come for party.
You come and ruin everything.
You come and ruin everything. Or you see sometimes I'm in school with mates and it's like they're discussing something. And immediately I'm approaching, you see the topic just dies down. And so that pastor they come, that pastor picking they come. Those kind of things.
Does that make you feel uncomfortable?
Yeah, sometimes it makes me feel uncomfortable.
All right.
So I have no control over myself because the church has put me under some sort of, there are some parameters
that you cannot exceed.
I cannot exceed. And even when I want to go towards friends with the ideology of ministering the word of God to them, just because I'm known as a PK,
you're already seen churchy.
You're churchy.
So
by default. So control has really been a problem, has posed a problem to PKs. But then there's a way out.
So what's the way out?
What's the way out? When you're a PK, immediately you step out of home, immediately you step out of church. It's not like hiding who you are, but I try as much as possible to come down to the level of the people, especially on first sight.
Okay.
So you meet me the first day, you may take you time to know I'm a PK unless you really know me. Right. But when I meet you, I take you for you are, you take me for who I am. And then as time goes on, since I'm kingdom-oriented, good.
So you have control over your identity to shape your identity if you let people know you for who you truly are, not just for the title as a PK.
As a PK.
Now, I've always wondered, how do we walk out of the identity our parents provide for us? Like, you know, as a PK, your parents tell you this is how you have to be. For this, I've had cases where they come up to me and like, how do you get to do what you like to do? How do you get to be a host? How do you get to be a journalist? Do and say the things you like to say, because my parents have said this is a no, all no for me. So how do you do that? How do you walk out of that shadow of your parents?
One of the ways through which we can walk out of that shadow of our parents as PKs, you know, God made me Daniel. I'm Daniel. My father is Ivor.
Okay.
So being true to myself, I'm Daniel. This is who I am. At that particular junction, I moved to Daddy. This is what I want to do.
Sometimes we consider stubborn when you do that.
Sometimes it's considered stubborn, but you know, at the end of the day, it's about pleasing God.
All right.
It's about pleasing God. Because I want to move in the direction where God has led me to.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a bit to come out of that kind of a circle, number one, know yourself, be truthful. Be truthful.
To who you are.
To who you are.
Never try to pretend.
Never try to pretend. Be truthful even to God. Dear Lord, this is what I want to do.
And He needs you just the way you are.
And He needs
That's
you just the way you are.
That's the important thing we need to know. God does not need you as a PK. God needs you as you, just who you are. Yes, let's go.
And so, you see, sometimes in a bit to prove who you truly are, sometimes you must get misinterpreted.
Okay.
No, this.
Now you're touching on still waters.
On still waters. This is not supposed to be you. You are supposed to be like this, like this, like that. But at a certain juncture, since you cannot pretend for long.
Yes, character is like pregnancy.
It's like pregnancy.
You cannot hide it.
You must take the bold step.
I like that.
Take the bold step.
I like that we are ending with that.
Yeah.
How do you take a bold step?
How do you take the bold step?
By doing.
By doing. By doing. You just need to be careful. Take the bold step. Do the action. The end point, what we are supposed to worry about is pleasing God. Pleasing God. If we don't do that, it will cause so many PKs to go under depression. And that's what's happening.
That's something we want to talk about. We have about 4 minutes left in this show. We were talking out of camera that a lot of PKs have not found themselves. They work in identities which is not them. Mm-hmm. And you were telling me of how it's depressing, how so many PKs are suicidal. Let's throw more light in that.
Yeah. You know, doing a lot of research and asking questions from seniors in the PK ministry, you know, it burdened my heart when I read The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. Mm-hmm. And only some days after that for his son, Matthew Warren, to commit suicide. You can imagine that. And several other instances around the world. And you know, even in town here, discussing with other PKs, it's like, boy, the thing hard. All things just stress me. Everything is stressing me.
I can relate to that because there was a point in my life that I was very, very suicidal. I was depressed. I was under everything you could term as depression. Mm-hmm. So before I say anything, because I have an experience on that, what do you think makes PK, when it comes to identity, what makes them go to that extent of being suicidal, under depression?
It's simple. What causes PKs to go under depression is because they have no one whom they can air out their minds to.
True.
As a PK, you bear witness to me, not up to 2 people in the church of 500 can ask you, how are you really doing now?
Yes. You always call to the Sahendri. Okay. And nobody says, how are you? What's going on? What is wrong?
How are you managing the peer pressure?
Or how can I help you?
How can I even help you? So most PKs don't have that heart-warm fellowship with people, one another, even sometimes with their parents, because dad is in this crusade, dad is in this conference, he's in this meeting.
And mom is always praying for that.
Mom is always praying for that. And you see those kind of things.
You share your parents with everybody.
With everybody. And so at the end of the day, you are left alone in the room, thinking, why you and my other parents carry their children out to the mall, but your dad is carrying all the time to the crusade ground and things like that. So most PKs haven't had anybody to actually pour out their minds to. Okay. And so as a PK, sometimes I look for the most, if I should say, the smallest person, as we will quote in God. It's not really feasible, but sometimes I look for that person and I'm like,
somebody you can just
talk to.
That's right. Thank you very much for coming. And thank you very much for giving us loads about yourself. We're talking about being suicidal. If you're out there as a PK and you don't know who you are, you feel so depressed because you feel like the things you want to do, you can't get to do them. I am an example, if I can say so. I got to a point in my life that I wanted to do everything to please, especially my parents who had done so much for me. And I was so unhappy. I was so unhappy that it affected everything I've gotten myself into, relationships, how I interacted, how I saw myself self-esteem and all of that. But please, trust me, in that situation, the only thing you need is God. When you have God and you are real, you come naked to God and not ashamed, God would definitely help you. One thing I did after having a real relationship with God was that I looked for somebody, I connected to somebody that could help me out, that could pull me out of the pit of depression. And that is how I got out. And today I sit here and I can tell you that as a PK, find yourself, be that person you are meant to be. Find your niche in pleasing God. We are all in His kingdom, and there's something specific He has given you to do. I believe you can do that. This is Life of a PK. My name is Rudy. See you next time when we